get some help with this investigation with nationally known psychotherapist and author Dr. Robi Ludwig and criminal defense lawyer Andrew Bernstein. Dr. Ludwig, good to see you. What's your take on this? And generally, family members, they go through that initial period of shock and they can't believe what has happened. What do you see in terms of different types of reaction, and what's your take on the Heuermanns standing by Rex, if indeed they still are?
Yeah, so families have such interesting dynamics, and when it comes to Rex's family, one could see how they're very dependent on one another. Perhaps they're outsiders and feel like the outside world is attacking all of them. So they're clinging together and choosing to wait and see how everything turns out before they make their final decision. And also, if your husband and or father is a serial killer, that's pretty scary. So one might err on the side of, listen, we choose to believe him just to save themselves. There's a lot of denial potentially going on here, which makes sense under the circumstances. I do believe that Rex's family had no idea about his other life and that it was a secret.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation on it, but you heard the commissioner saying the same thing, that he may have been able to pull this whole thing off without them knowing, even though they believed that the murders, at least some of them, took place in that house while they were on vacation. The rest of them. Robi, the look in a courtroom is important, is it not? Jurors are soaking that in, and you want to know what does his family think of this, and it can help a defendant.
I mean, it can help up to a certain point, because if you are looking at somebody who is really disturbed, like in this case, a potential alleged serial killer, then you may not have a lot of respect for the family, right? That the family is just seduced or a part of this sick system. And for the family, I think also there's a lot of self-denial, because what does it mean about them if, you know, as a husband, they were married, you know, the wife was married to a serial killer, or as kids, your dad is a serial killer? What does that mean in terms of you and your judgment and what you missed? So it's very hard as just one's identity coming to terms with that. And I do think jurors may assume that. So while it's better to have his family show up in court and support him and love him, I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be enough to somehow paint a pretty picture of this man, because it's just so gruesome, some of what he did, you know, his behavior.
No, that's a good point. And especially when you have 7 victims and they're all being brought into one trial. This is going to be a very long trial. And even if at the beginning jurors are thinking, well, it's, you know, he seems like he's a good fit. After like week 4, yes, they will have gotten to the point of like, I can't believe those people are still behind him, and it won't help. Yeah. Final word, Robi, jurors can also be freaked out by a case like this because it is so scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening to see somebody behave in such a depraved way, to really see a psychopath who could seduce and deliberately kill innocent women. It's going to be very unpleasant, and it's really hard not to judge, right? Because it's people like this that are scary, and we do judge for obvious reasons. He deserves a fair trial, but at the end of the day, it sounds like it's going to be hard for this person to not be convicted.
Yeah, just the charges alone. You look over and you see him sitting there, and ooh, it's a lot. Thank you very much, Andrew Bernstein and Dr. Robi Ludwig. Appreciate your valuable time.